You're welcome back, and of course, you can join via our interactive app on X Spaces, on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course on myjoyonline.com. My name is Elton Brobe. Let's set it for the news. And this afternoon, we are heavy on corruption and corruption-related issues. Since its establishment, a total of 2,417 complaints have been received, 1,493 via calls and 943 through emails. That was reviewed by the ORA Committee Chairman Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa during the official presentation of the team's findings to the President at a ceremony at the Jubilee House a while ago. And according to him, 230 of these complaints have been verified and duly documented for the President to take further action on it. You can listen to Okujeto makes the point before the President.
To be the chief servant of the preparatory team, we swung into immediate action. We set up channels of communication consistent with the mandate that the president-elect at the time gave us. So we set up a toll-free line, 0800 900 111. We established a website, www.oralgh.org, an email address, public@oralgh.org. Her Excellency the Vice President was also generous to offer us her conference room as our secretariat. So that served as our secretariat. So we didn't have to pay rent for our meetings. We also want to use this opportunity to thank the young Ghanaians who volunteered, because every Ghanaian is passionate about the success of Oral. IT experts volunteered to set up this platform for us free of charge. So the toll-free lines, the websites, these are patriotic Ghanaians who did not demand any compensation from us. And we want to convey the appreciation of Ghanaians to these young, patriotic, selfless Ghanaians. By way of quick numbers, and these are very important numbers, we received 1,493 calls through the toll-free line, 1,493. We also received 924 emails. Fortunately, all of these calls are recorded automatically, and all the emails have also been preserved for verification and validation. So in total, the number of complaints received amounts to 2,417. So those who had any doubt about how relevant and how timely the President's intervention was at the time, this is your evidence. 2,417 complaints received. Where will all of these people have gone if President Mahama had not set up the oral preparatory team? So President Mahama has been vindicated. It was a masterstroke. It was the right decision for our country, and it has deepened transparency and accountable governance. Over the last 53 days, we have reviewed these petitions. 44 were received directly from civil society organizations and other public-spirited citizens. 59 of the 230 cases reviewed containing the documents we'll be submitting today were cases that had come up during the period the NDC was in opposition. But we decided to go back to those matters and carry out a detailed review. And all of those are contained. So today we will be presenting a summary of these reports, 230 of them, which have been analyzed in greater detail. Your Excellency, we also want to bring to your attention that even before we move to phase 2 of oral, which is going to focus on the actual recoveries, the actual retrievals, we have identified 10 initial benefits of oral, and we want to run through them quickly. We take the view that oral has deepened transparency and accountability. It has really increased public awareness about the need to protect state assets. And it is also serving as a guide to the new government. And government officials are now more conscious of the need to make sure that, as President Mahama has consistently said, charity begins at home. Secondly, thanks to the establishment of Oral, we have been able to save 50 bungalows that were on the verge of being demolished. 50 bungalows. We received distress calls from public servants who said people had showed up, so-called private developers, to demolish their bungalows. And in the report, we have provided the detailed list of these bungalows, some belonging to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Gender, Social Protection, the CSIR, and all of that. But for the president establishing Oral, we take the view that all of these 50 bungalows will have been demolished. So what we did is that when we received the complaints, the distress calls, we immediately called the National Security Committee. And we were very privileged because of the president's foresight. He strategically positioned COP Kofi Boakye in Oral and also in the National Security Committee. So as soon as the reports come, he then relays the information to National Security Committee. So media, please get it clear. We are not saying that we, Team Oral, physically went to prevent demolition of bungalows. No, that was not part of our mandate. We were only to receive complaints. But as responsible, conscientious citizens, it will be irresponsible to receive the complaints and just allow those bungalows to be demolished. So immediately, national security is informed, and then they act. So please ignore all of those barrage of unfair and baseless attacks that Oral has suffered. We did not carry out any fiscal operation on the ground. We only report to national security, and then they act. We also collaborated with national security to save the Northern Development Authority lands at cantonments. A private developer overnight, on the eve of the president's inauguration, moved in overnight to erect a wall, divided the property into half. Some of you are conversant with that land. It's just opposite the U.S. Embassy, very prime land. That is where the Constitution Review Commission used to sit under Dr. Raymond Atuguba. It was allocated to the Northern Development Authority, and these private developers claim that it now belongs to them. But the staff of NDA called us, and we promptly called National Security, and they moved in. So we were able to save that land. National Security has since demolished the wall, and so the land is safe for the Ghanaian people. We also collaborated with National Security to halt state asset takeovers across the country. You'll see from the report that we have videos and pictures of vehicles whose number plates were being changed, and so that they will virtually steal them for private use. Again, acting on those tip-offs, national security moved in quickly and were able to save a good number, hundreds of these vehicles. Again, the list is provided in the report. There was also a clash at the Du Bois Center. We received a distress call that a private foundation was taking over. We immediately called national security. And so what we have done now is to ask that the factions should meet, and the new Minister for Tourism should resolve the matters. Again, if Oral had not been established, only God knows what would have happened at the Du Bois Center. Number 6, we have also saved large portions of the agric mechanization lands at cantonments. Those of you who are conversant with that land, opposite the Elwak Sports Stadium, all of it had been allocated. But fortunately, when Oral was established, the Association of Vegetable Producers and Exporters reached out to us. That's where they used to operate. Large portions of their facilities had been demolished, but their cold room was on the verge of being demolished. And so we called national security. They moved in, and we have been able to save large portions. Only, I would say, about 20% of the land has seen some development. Politically exposed persons are building hurriedly, but at least 80% has been preserved, and it is for the president to advise on what will happen because the documentation we have is that all of that land has been sold. And the sad part is that you'll see from the report, some people, prime cantonment's land, paid as low as 42,000 cedis. 42,000 cedis for a plot of land. Some 160,000 cedis. And these government officials, MPs, ministers of state. So it was really just a giveaway. I'm sure the president and his advisors will decide on what to do with the rest of the land. Then we also collaborated with national security to halt the attempted demolition of staff quarters belonging to the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board. That is at the Osukuku Hill. That had also been sold, but thanks to our intervention, at least the demolition has been halted. The president and his advisors will decide what should happen to the staff quarters of the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board. Then we take the view that this oral preparatory team concept offered a more structured and peaceful, non-confrontational channel for citizens to address concerns on the looting of state assets. Imagine what would have happened. We are all aware that transitions in Ghana tend sometimes to be acrimonious and even can degenerate into violence. So if Team Oral had not been established for people to have a formal channel to communicate their concerns, and they decided to take the law into their own hands, imagine what would have happened. So instead of the president being bastardized by a few people, I must say, the vast majority of Ghanaians welcome Oral and have commended the president. But a few people who are, raving and ranting, it's clear that this has really helped to ease tensions and to offer Ghanaians who are really coming face to face with looting to report. Number 9, Oral also created a platform for persons of interest to reach out, seeking an opportunity to refund and return what belongs to the Ghanaian people. Quite a number of persons of interest have reached out that they are willing, whether plea bargain or whatever approach, to just have their peace and return, or probably pay the real value for the land that has been given to them. So all of that is contained in the detailed report, and the president and his legal advisors will take a decision on the way forward. Finally, President Mahama's oral.
Right, so that's Ghana's foreign minister. Before that, he was the chairman of ORA, Operation Recover or Loot, and they presented their report to President John Mahama today at the Jubilee House, made reference to what they've done so far. According to Okudzeto Ablakwa, in summary, he said they have verified 36 cases, and out of 36 cases, if government is able to do recovery, that should save the country over 21 billion Ghana cedis. Now, upon receiving the document, President John Mahama praised the team for fulfilling what he called a national duty without remuneration. He assured that the report recommendations would be carefully reviewed and pledged that the law would take its course.
With great solemnity and a deep sense of duty that I received this comprehensive report of Operation Recover All the Loot, an initiative that represents an unwavering commitment to the fight against corruption, financial malfeasance, and the misappropriation of public resources. From the onset of my administration, I made it clear that Ghana's resources belong to the people of Ghana and must be used judicially for their collective good. The diversion of public funds for personal gain undermines development, it erodes public trust, and deepens inequality. It is for this reason that Operation Recover All the Loot was launched, to ensure that what had been wrongfully taken from the state is restored to its rightful owners, the Ghanaian people. I therefore wish to commend the members of this team for their dedication and professionalism in carrying out this vital national assignment without compensation, without expectation of any remuneration. The meticulous investigations, legal actions, and asset recoveries reflected in this report are a testament to the seriousness with which this government approaches the issue of accountability and good governance. The findings of this report make for sober reading. They reveal the scale of financial leakages that have cost our nation dearly. Resources that should have been invested in education, healthcare, infrastructure, and social development. But they also offer hope that through our collective efforts, we can reclaim what is ours and deter future acts of economic sabotage. As we receive this report, let me assure the Ghanaian people that the work does not end here. The recommendations of the report will be carefully studied, and where legal action and investigations are warranted, they will be pursued without fear or favor. Every peso recovered will be channeled back into national development, and mechanisms will be strengthened to prevent such losses in the future. I have promptly handed over the report to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and I give him firm instructions to commence immediate investigations into the cases reported in here with a view to prosecuting anyone found liable for corruption or related offenses. To those who think they can defraud the state and escape justice, let this serve as a strong warning. Ghana is no longer a safe haven for corruption. To those who stand for integrity, accountability, and the rule of law, I assure you that this government remains your steadfast partner in building a nation where honesty and hard work are rewarded. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a defining moment in our fight against corruption. We must all play our parts, citizens, civil society, the media, and public officials alike. Together, we will build a Ghana that is just, transparent, and prosperous for generations to come. I thank you, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana.
So that's President John Mahama there. So clearly, the work now begins. The Attorney General has a copy of the report. I'm sure he's going to study and advise government on the way forward. The cases that must be further investigated, the ones that must go to court for those identified to come and answer for whatever wrong they've committed. But let's analyze this carefully. And let me bring in anti-corruption campaigner Vitus Azim, and of course, investigative journalist Manas Azuri Awene. Let me start with you, Ms. Azim. So the president said that this presents a turning point in the country's fight against corruption. Do you share in his optimism?
Yes, of course, because it means that people will now be scared to do the wrong thing. Something that does not belong to you, you wouldn't just take it and make it your personal property. Because even the fact that you are being investigated, even if they don't find you guilty, the mere fact that you are being investigated is a sign to your family and friends that you have been suspected of doing something illegal. Mm. So even if they don't recover actual money back from you, this alone is a pointer to those who plan to do that in the future.
According to Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, 36 cases they reviewed, and the recoveries in these 36 cases stands at 21 billion Ghana. That's a lot of money, wouldn't you agree? And if they say they've reviewed, what exactly does it mean? Does it mean that it is an open and closed case that must now go to court for the necessary questions to be asked?
No, I think that this means that, or that means that they are the obvious cases. But definitely, with further investigations, they will uncover more of the stolen, the loot. Mm. That's why it has been reduced. It's obviously more than that. And so you can imagine why we found ourselves in this economic crisis. This money, and the use of this money alone, would have been so much of help to Ghanaian citizens and the economy. So definitely it is a turning point, and I believe that they are going to pursue further different authority, Attorney General, who may refer some of the cases to other relevant state institutions to conduct further investigations and maybe recover more money. Maybe they should also throw an invitation to people who want to surrender without going through an investigation, to surrender their loot back to the government. It will help to hasten the process so that they are not overwhelmed by the number of cases before them. But also, you would expect citizens, people with information, especially the appropriate institutions like Lands Commission,
Right.
to come forward and provide information for further to support the investigations.
All right. Let me bring in my colleague Manasseh Azuri, who is joining me via Zoom. So Manasseh, always a pleasure to see you on the other side. Let me pick your initial reaction to the work done so far by ORA and whether you are okay with the facts that they presented today to the president.
Well, thank you, Elton. I have not seen the report yet, but from what I have heard, Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa say, it suggests they've done a thorough work, and if, and a big if, the government is serious about fighting corruption, this should be a very good start. And from here, we should be able to get tangible names, tangible facts, tangible figures of recoveries and possible prosecution.
I mean, let me run by you some of the key pointers that they presented to the president. According to Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, they collaborated with the national security to save 50 bungalows which would have been demolished. They talk about the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Gender Ministry, Bungalow. They also collaborated with national security to save NDA land at Cantonment, the land right opposite the U.S. Embassy. They also collaborated with the same national security to halt state assets takeover across the country, intervened to restore normalcy at the Du Bois Center after clashes between the staff of the Tourism Ministry and the privately owned Du Bois Foundation, which claims to have secured a transfer agreement and then saved large portions of their great mechanization lands, collaborated with national security to halt attempted demolition of staff quarters belonging to the Ghana Museum and Monuments Board, offered a more structured, peaceful and non-confrontational channel for citizens to address concerns on the looting of state assets, also created a platform for persons to interest to reach out to them. Clearly, from what Mr. Okudzeto and his team presented, they've done a great job. Question is, why did it take a set of individuals to bring these things to light when we had a government in place, but looks like look and allow these things to happen?
Well, I think you are asking why the thief did not arrest himself, because the government you are talking about had officials who benefited or who appropriated these resources to themselves, their cronies, or their accomplices in the private sector. It is very difficult to think that those same people who were benefiting from these looted state properties would have acted. Having said that, it also cast a great doubt on the integrity of state institutions.
Exactly my next question I was coming to.
Because there are state institutions that should have prevented this. All over the world, the executive, if you leave them to their devices, they can get in and cause so many problems. But if state institutions were up and doing, people wouldn't wait to report some of these issues to ORA. And I dare say that in the coming days, there will be more people coming out with information once they get to know that what ORA has collected is being put to good use. So I would even suggest that oral shouldn't end. There should still be an avenue through which people can channel evidence, tip-offs, or pieces of information that can lead to the recovery of more state assets.
Right. Let me bring in Mr. Axim. Right. So, Manasseh and Mr. Axim, please kindly bear with me. Let me take our viewers back to the Jubilee House where members of ORA are speaking to the media. Let's listen in.
Now that the report has been forwarded to the Attorney General. Let me start off with you, Mr. Raymond Archer. First of all, what's the work like, for you on the committee?
Well, it's been a privilege to work on the committee. Very interesting things have happened. We are happy that at least a lot has come out of it. Yeah. The details, I'm sure, is all there with the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. Once his advice comes out, I'm sure he has said he's going to conduct investigations, study everything, and move from there. So there's surely going to be a phase 2, which is more going to be within the government system going forward.
A wide range of issues that this committee looked at. One that had to do with the looting of state lands, looting of state assets. You also looked at financial crimes and all of that. On a scale of preference for you, what do you think, in order of priority, if you had to list them, what would it be for you?
All. All.
All of them?
All of them. They are all very compelling cases. Okay. Priority will depend on, you heard the president talk about low-hanging fruits. So we are going to look at it. It will not be based on whether this is financial crime or looting, or it will be based on what benefits the nation the most. And so at the end, we want to get the best out of it. So whichever one gives us the best is what we focus on. But as far as I'm concerned, each one of them are important to look at.
Okay, okay. You had Raymond Archer, the member of the committee. I'll be coming back to him shortly. I'll be coming to Mr. Domelevo also shortly, who's here with me. But let's speak to Mr. Martin Pebu. Mr. Pebu, you are a lawyer, and we say the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Evidence is the name of the game.
Absolutely.
Do you have enough evidence to back, what you just presented to the president? Evidence that will lead to successful prosecution.
Okay, great. So we haven't reached that threshold yet. Okay. Our mandate was to basically receive petitions and to gather information around. So let's say if you take National Cathedral, yes, apart from receiving petitions, you are aware of statements that were made by the president at the beginning that there will be no state funding. Then later he changed course and started pumping in state money, etc. So we gather that information and put it in the dossier. So some of it, there is some information which may qualify as evidence, but when we get to the court, then we'll cross that bridge. So let's repeat. Our mandate was not to do full-blown investigations, no. Basically receive petitions, complaints, tips, very important tips, cues, all right, leads, etc. And then also gather those that are readily available, and that's what we've done, and that's how you see the reports. Now in stage 2 there will be full-blown investigations, and you see Mr. Archer is now Deputy Executive Director of IOCO, right? So he'll be helping in that direction. Some of the cases may go to OSP, etc., and the other law enforcement agencies. The Attorney General would be in charge of sharing them.
Before I come to Mr. Domelevo, but in doing your work, I'm sure you definitely sieved the chaff from the wheat. Are you confident that what you've presented to the president, I mean, if you're looking at the prima facie cases also, there'll be a case for a number of them?
So the same thing, as I said, as a lawyer, like you said, when I put on my legal thinking cap, I can't say there's a prima facie case because, as I mentioned, our mandate was limited. Receive petitions, leads, tips, cues, okay, and so then
it's
also
incumbent on the AG, to gather the hardcore investigations to get evidence.
Yes, absolutely. Some of what we also have may help in that direction. So let's say, as I mentioned earlier, using National Cathedral as an example, you will get clear evidence where the president Akufo-Addo said there will be no state funding. Then later he started pumping in money. Good. without express parliamentary approval. So those are questions he would have to answer for, because you tell the Ghanaian people and you tell the Supreme Court that you are not doing state funding. Then after the Supreme Court decision saying that, yes, the National Cathedral project can go on, then you begin to pump money, because you read the Supreme Court judgment, that's Kabile's case, okay, Kwabena Bonfrey, the Attorney General. You would see that in the judgment, the Supreme Court says, well, fortunately, government is not putting funding in there. Government is not funding it. It is land. At that stage, it's land that government give. And the Supreme Court said, yes, government may give land, but they are not adding money. But after the Supreme Court decision, then they reverse course and begin to put in money. Okay. So these are things Akufo-Addo will have to answer for.
Okay. Mr. Domelevo, I want to find out from you, what were some of the things that shocked you the most when you received those petitions?
What shocked me most is the extreme abuse of public office, where you are the custodian of public funds and then you use it for yourself, or you are supposed to keep custody of government property or land, and then you allocate it to yourself or your cronies. And let me be very honest with you, my pain as a former Auditor General has always been that usually there are no consequences for misbehavior in this country. And the body language or the posturing of the president and his team, to me, is heartwarming. That if not anything at all, for the first time, we are going to see some seriousness on the ground. Seriousness not because we have by ourselves decided that somebody is guilty of anything. No, we have not accused anybody of anything, but we have provided information that we collected from the public. And if the next stage, which I find as a very critical stage, is carried out as promised by the president, then we will be saving this country good sums of money. But to me, it is not only that. To stop or nip on the bud, in the bud, that culture of impunity, where somebody assumes public office and he thinks that because I'm a public officer, I can appropriate public properties to my selfish benefit or to my cronies' benefit. I think that culture must stop. But you see, the president made a point which made me extremely happy. He didn't talk about only oral. He talked about OPAL, Operation Prevent All Loot. That is the most important thing. Yes, the leakage which has happened already, let's try and find out how we can mop it, but we should prevent additional leakages. And I was very happy. In fact, that is my worry. I was very happy when he addressed my worry. And I said, good. So it is not like the previous government, we can hold them accountable whilst we continue doing the same type of thing. So to me, I think it's a good one. We hope to see action in a few days going forward.
Before I wrap up, do you think there will be action?
Of course, the president promised it.
Are you optimistic that it will be?
I am very optimistic. Otherwise, I'll be extremely disappointed in him and the Attorney General. If after we have sacrificed to do all this and they don't subject these issues to proper investigation so that where people are found culpable, they can be held accountable, to be honest with you.
Held accountable, you think some people will go to jail for this? Some people will be incarcerated?
Personally, this is my view. Personally, I think that we should move into recovering monies with some additional surcharges, okay, than just putting people in custody so that they can come back after 5 or 10 years to come and enjoy their booty. So if we think that we have won the case against Mr. A and he took 10 million, we should be aiming at maybe 15 or 20 million from him. And to me, custodial sentence, it doesn't help anything, because the person will come back and enjoy his booty. Apart from that, we spend public funds keeping him or her in custody at the end of the day. And look at how our prisons are choked. If you want to do that, then we should go and empty the place and let the smaller offenses, we take them off. But to be honest with you, my prayer is to ensure that we hold public officers to a higher level of accountability. Nobody should ever think that because I'm a president, I'm a minister, I am above the law.
Okay. Let me wrap up with Mr. Raymond Archer. Now, when your name came up as part of the operation, as part of the oral committee, a lot of people were saying that this is your time to go after some people who they said went after you when the previous government was in power. They talk about the demolition of your property at the trade fair and all of that. Now I'm hearing, it's news to me actually, that you are the new Deputy Executive Director for Yoko. Yeah. Are you going to use your position to seek revenge?
Well, first of all, I don't own the government. Okay. So therefore, the president was very clear in his appointment that we are supposed to deal with economic and organized crime. Okay. It has nothing to do with Raymond Archer. It has nothing to do with who has offended me. I'm just a small part of the president's big dream. And it is just unthinkable, really. And I will tell you, I don't have any enemies. As I sit here today, I don't have any enemies. I'm focused on what the big task ahead. Okay. And there's a lot to do. Okay. And I don't have that time to be chasing flies. Okay. They're
no witch hunting?
No, okay. No. But the truth is, if, for example, somebody has committed an offense, it is not whether I know him, not whether he's done something to me, not whether he's done anything. It is purely based on case-by-case basis. I have no interest in using my position to chase so-called enemies while the president's vision lays languishing in my office. That's actually not the kind of person I am, and I'm going to do a lot of work in that position.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond Archer. Mr. Kwebu, final words, you want to say anything?
Yeah, so I must say that today is quite a momentous occasion. Momentous because at least we have officially, more or less, come to the end of our work, and we can't wait to see the Attorney General go into full gear, the OSP, Yoko, as Mr. Raymond Archer has mentioned, etc., so that they will take our reports, do investigations, and then we can begin to recover a lot of the loot, because the nation has really bled. The nation has bled. And I'm calling upon Ghanaians to be very vigilant. The results of the last election shows that we've integrated as a nation now. Now we can properly call ourselves as a nation. So let's all be vigilant. Let's not say that because we were upset with the previous government and so we booted them out, we should allow the current regime to do anything they want. No. I suffered that in the last time. I was happy to have voted against JM to go, right? And when Akufo-Addo came, the first time, I was happy. Anything NDC said, I was just happy to say, oh, but you did the same. Oh, but you did the same. In the end, the nation suffered. So please, let's throw away that attitude. Yes, we've booted out the NDC, but it means that from day one, we should be vigilant and help the NDC. Yeah, we should help, because by holding them accountable, we help to move the nation forward.
Thanks so much for talking to us. So you just heard Mr. Martin Kwebu, your Domelevo, and then Raymond Archer, members of the Operation Recover All Loot Committee. They just presented their report to the president, and the president has also presented that report to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. He says that is an indication and a signal of the next phase of the work of the oral committee. And here we've been hearing from the top members of the committee here, sharing with us their perspectives. So that's what's happening here at the Jubilee House, where we came to you live from. Over to you in the studio, Alton.
Thank you so much, Marcel Agwagwa, presidential correspondent. Thank you very much for that work done there. Let me pick your final talks on this matter, Manasseh Azuri Awene. So what does this tell of our state institution tasked with the mandate of fighting corruption? We have the CID, Yoko, we have the Office of the OSP, and yet these 7 gentlemen put together by the president, they've done so much work within this short period of time.
Well, I want to look at it based on each institution and its merit. If you take the OSP, it is the institution that I believe is independent and somewhat insulated from the control of the executive.
Right.
We know the police, the Attorney General's Department, even Yoko, have been heavily policed by the same institutions and politicians that are supposed to police. I believe that going forward, and if you heard what they said, whatever they have now isn't conclusive,
Right.
that we have investigated and found this. So there's still a lot of work to do. And I am hoping that these state institutions we have mentioned would lend their support. The major problem has always been the body language of the president, as Mr. Domelevo rightly said. If the president is committed to the fight against corruption, those under him will fall in line. Right. If the president wavers in his conviction, whatever that has been gathered will amount to nothing.
Absolutely. And then the most important thing here is that the Attorney General obviously is going to sit down with his team, work through the document presented to the president, come up with his own recommendation. Recommendation may be that there is no case for anybody to answer for that reason. Let us move on. Or there is a case for somebody to answer. And that may lead to the next phase of it, put those persons before court and prosecute them. On the other side, are people who have already been put before court, and this same Attorney General has discontinued the prosecution of these individuals. You've written about it extensively today. Hold it there for me whilst my colleague Kofi Aji ran us through the high-profile case that government decided that they will not go through with the prosecution. Kofi.
Well, so the same Attorney General, just like you put it, deems it prudent that there are certain cases that should not be continued. And we have been monitoring the space, and how many can we count? 7 cases currently, at least 7 cases so far that we've been monitoring in terms of the high-profile ones that have been discontinued. So I'm going to walk you through, and so that we refresh our minds on these cases. So the first one has to do with the Saglame, controversy, all of that.
The housing project.
Exactly, $200 million Saglame housing project. Who was involved in terms of this case? The man, the former Works and Housing Ministry, Collins Dauda, was the face of the, this trial.
But the entire sum was paid to the contractor, even before he finished even one unit.
In fact,
and the contractor, we are told, is dead, died 2 years ago.
Yes, and if you look at the number of count, that tells you the magnitude of this, case that the Attorney General has decided not to continue with anymore. 70 counts of causing financial loss to the state. And this is a case that the current government feels that, look, we don't want to pursue this anymore. The man involved should be free. And
is there a reason behind the decision?
Well, maybe the Attorney General will be the best person to elaborate on why they decided to, discontinue some of these cases. There are so many of the cases that maybe they feel that, there is no need to continue anymore. They do not see how that will benefit government. And some argue that these individuals have been tried for a number of years, and if indeed there were anything significant in there, you should be able to find them guilty. But they say the wheels of justice grinds, slowly.
Right.
But definitely, we do not know the reason behind the Attorney General's decision. Maybe going forward, they might want to elaborate on some of this decision. One other case has to do with the, SNIT versus the OBS case, where the person involved was the doctor, and the Storms, and the former Director General of SNIT. What was the case? There was a $66 million SNIT operation business suit project that has become the main, controversy, or the main case that this man on the screen was being charged. We understand that the Attorney General also feels that this case should be discontinued as well. High-profile case. He doesn't see the need to, continue. What was the charge? The charge was financial impropriety, causing financial loss to the state. So we saw the same thing with Collins Dauda and the SNIT and the Saglame housing issue, and the same causing financial loss to the state also pans out here, and the AG feels that this case should be discontinued. Elton, the third case, which caused a lot of gained a lot of national attention, where the NDC, the party, was actually involved, is the current finance minister who was being tried, and the case there was the $2.37 million procurement of ambulances. And this case continued for a while.
Right.
And definitely the AG also feels that, look, there's no need to continue trying this man anymore. The cases should be dropped and he should be allowed to go scot-free. He is the current finance minister. And next month we'll be seeing him in Parliament present the 2025 budget, which many have said that may feature a lot of tax cuts. We will see the e-levy and other controversial taxes as being labeled by the NDC in the 2025 budget. But he's a free man now because the AG feels that, look, there's no case to continue anymore. There's another one. Ofosu Ampofo's case has also been dropped, and you can see the details on the smart wall there. I mean,
this may not be related to anything corruption.
Exactly.
It's about a tape that was in circulation.
Exactly.
And the AG decides that the interest is no longer there as far as government is concerned.
There's no meat in this case anymore. But one other one has to do with Cocoa Board, the institution that last year could not meet that $2 billion export revenue. This year, last year we understand that was around $1.7 billion. And if you look at Cocoa Board's financials, their production so far in terms of the cocoa output has been diminishing from over 1 million, tons in 2021 now to a little above 500,000, tons. And the gap between Ghana and Ivory Coast keeps widening. But the former, CEO of Cocoa Board has also been tried, and that was the procurement of unapproved and substandard fertilizers to Cocoa Board. And if you know the cocoa sector really well, fertilizers, very important in this case. For anybody to be tried on that same tangent, that means that this case was high profile. We understand that the AG doesn't want to continue with this case anymore. There is a new man in charge, Dr. Randy Abe, who is going to run the affairs of Cocoa Board. It will be interesting to see how the Cocoa Board actually moves from its current status to maybe a new level, a new higher grounds in terms of production and export revenue. Definitely, Oliver Bakavoma will feature in this if you're talking about some of the cases that have been dropped. Not just him alone, but a number of others who were caught in that way.
Also unrelated to corruption.
Not corruption. I mean, this was definitely because of the activities of the country movement.
Right.
And we know that this case has also been dropped. The last one will be the
current acting governor of Ghana.
Acting. And so, in fact, some of the cases so far, we've seen the current finance minister involved. We've seen the current acting, Bank of Ghana governor also involved. These are two big individuals who take very important decisions with respect to our financials and the stability of the country's economy. He was being, charged in terms of fraudulent breaches of trust, money laundering, conspiracy to commit crime, violation of the Bank of Ghana Act and all of that. He was the second deputy governor, and he was being charged in terms of the collapse of certain banks, Unibank and I think UT Bank and all of that.
Right.
When you are the second deputy governor, your mandate is to take care, is to run the banking sector of the central bank. And he was charged with that. He's spoken at length about this. He says that he did not see, he is not too big to be scrutinized, but he feels that at the point this became too much, and the AG feels that this is a case that also should be discontinued. He is the current acting Bank of Ghana governor. It will be interesting to see how, and maybe we might be seeing more cases, being dropped. But so far, in terms of the high-profile ones, we've been able to count 7.
Right. Thank you very much, Kofi. And of course, Manas, as we are assuming, he's written an article on this matter, describing the development as unfortunate, describing the president as a super clearing agent, and says that it doesn't augur well for the fight against corruption, especially when no reason has been assigned for the discontinuation of these cases. We'll get back to him for his reaction on this matter. But this afternoon, pressure is also mounting on national security apparatus to provide full details on the circumstances surrounding the seizure of 12 shipping containers, each 20 feet long, filled with counterfeit US dollars, Ghanaian cedi notes, and gold bars concealed in wooden carton. Acting on intelligence, national security operatives intercepted the contraband at a warehouse at Sapema, located in the South Municipality of the Greater Accra region. Officials have since launched a manhunt for 4 individuals, including a suspected ringleader known only as Alhaji, as they assure the public of bringing those involved to book. But security experts are already expressing deep concerns over the incident, urging the government to undertake an urgent overhaul of the national security system to root out corruption and prevent future breaches. We will soon analyze the security and economic implication of this development. Let me bring in Professor Kwesienin. Always a pleasure to have you on Joy News. So this happened over the weekend, and there's a lot of commentary around it. The only name we can associate with what the national security uncovered is Alhaji. Is that good enough, Professor?
It's a joke. Look, I'm so sick and fed up with this comic relief, cyclical patterns of arrest, hula baloo, and then the cases just die. So when your producer actually called me, I was quite displeased. I'm not particularly excited about coming to talk about this. Because the question is, and so what? These have entered the country, I guess, from outside Ghana. They were able to clear the port. They've managed to travel from wherever they were cleared, if from Tema to wherever they were intercepted. That's close to about 35, 40 kilometers.
Right.
And this is not a logistical operation undertaken by two people. So if Alhaji has escaped, they haven't caught anybody. Then it raises for me certain fundamental questions. A, we need to look at the timing. Is this a very sincere attempt at a tip-off and we have reacted? Or this is something that has been known for a very long time and they decided to act because certain decisions much higher up in the system are going to be taken and some people in national security would have been affected. And therefore, intercepting this shows that they are really doing work. I am far from convinced. Truly. Because if nobody from the ports have been arrested, we are members of the World Customs Organization. And all the sophisticated equipment at Mahama to be able to scan containers, blah, 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 blah. So if they all came through, then we have some very tough questions to answer. And I think Manasseh several years ago, I think, did some work or has done some work on the ports before. So we really don't seem to be moving forward very fast.
Absolutely.
Gold coming into Ghana, gold bars coming into Ghana, it raises some very fundamental questions. Artisanal gold miners alone produce around about 8 tons of gold, of which we have only control or access to about 1.5. The remaining 6.5 leaked out of Ghana by Burkinabes, Chinese, Indians, Turks, Albanians, and all those people. So, look, the national security guys have a lot of explanation to do. And certainly the new guys, Mr. Razak, Prosper Bani, Kofi Boakye, have their jobs cut out for them. There is something sinister and very insidious going on.
But Prof, the thing is, apart from the video, they made it available to various media houses to play, to show an agency that is working. There's not been any further development as to the identities of these individuals, especially those who are on the run. If you are asking for public support to identify them, who are these individuals? What are their pictures so that the public can come along with you in bringing this to a finality? Secondly, the content of the container was only reviewed at Sapeiman. Meanwhile, it ran through all the scanners at Mahama all the way to Sapeiman. And are they telling us nobody did this work to the point of examining every piece of content that was in the container, except when it docked at Sapeiman?
Look, and therein lies my argument. Manasseh just seems exhausted about all this. He tells the whole story. Look, they've come through an international port. A member of the World Customs Organization has got all these scanners, blah, blah, blah. And if they haven't been able to arrest those who did the scanning and the clearance at Tema, and there's national security at Tema port anyway, then it raises fundamental questions. And therein lies my assessment that probably this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just supposed to divert attention. Post this, how many other containers have come in? I think Mr. Razak, Kofi Boakye, and Prosper Bani have their jobs cut out for them. And I'm hoping, just as we did with the oral, the president will give them a time frame to bring a report. We need to see some people punished for this and jobs lost. This is just, from where I sit, it's a real joke.
And then they are
this does not give
Yes, please go
confidence that we have functional institutions. No way.
They say that 2 more containers they cannot account for, meaning that whatever is in that container either is already in the system or they're taking it elsewhere. Now, I mean, for me as a layman with maybe no serious background in security, should I accept the explanation that perhaps they are still trying to identify the individuals?
Look, people should be hauled before whatever appropriate institution to answer questions. How do we know there are not 10 extra containers? How do we know there are not 20 extra containers? Because if they know 2 containers are lost, then how come they've only given us the name of one man who has run away and not those who cleared the containers from the port? Look, I think this is becoming increasingly speculative, but someone somewhere should be feeling pretty uncomfortable now because there are more questions than answers. And the more you provide basic information that they themselves have provided, the more it creates a sense of, unease and disquiet that all is not well with our national security. Far from it.
Prof, do you think perhaps they should speak to the nation, maybe the Interior Minister or the National Security Coordinator? They should address a news conference and put all the facts out. Let us understand really what is going on, rather than this, not so complete information that they are putting out there.
I mean, normally when these intelligence cases are unraveling, you would rather not want to put too much information in the public domain. But this increasingly is beginning to look like a comedy of errors that is making people feel very insecure, unconvinced, and that some people somewhere are not doing their job and doing it well. So probably it might be useful to reassure the people of this country that just as oral and opal are taken off, I don't know the acronym that we will give for a very effective national security performance. Probably NSA will help us. But it cannot be business as usual.
Right.
Apart from it.
And I asked that question because this is not the first time we are witnessing this. I mean, the last time the national security was involved in such an operation, they uncovered arms that had come into the country. That was the last we heard of this matter.
But, one of the good things about, a vibrant media, national institutions being forced to discuss critical national issues that may pose a threat, is that we also need to be able to follow through the extent to which the cases are dealt with.
Right.
What punishments have been meted out. Not for entertainment purposes, but hopefully to serve in preventing others from getting involved. Look, what we are seeing here, and therein lies my disgust with those who are handling this case, is that we know that even in Sierra Leone, one of the most wanted narcotics criminals have gotten very close to the president of Sierra Leone. Okay? I think married into his family. So West Africa once more might be under massive attack as we experienced in the late 1990s and early 2000s. And the fidgety manner and in which information is being given in bits and pieces and not being very clear, I find it extremely disturbing and totally unacceptable. If monies cannot be looted and need to be accounted for, then those who should ensure that the state is safe and secure and that its people can go about their businesses freely must be up and doing. I don't know the value of the dollars and the cedis.
It's unclear for now.
Yeah, but any economy that has such sums of money coming into its economy undermines the value of the currency, the trust in the currency. And I mean, I am sure the international agencies that we partner with will be wondering, can we trust these guys to do business with? Can we trust them when they share information? Can we trust them when we share information with them? So when they talk about an intelligence, was it part of the international network of intelligence sharing that told them, wait, let the containers come in, intercept them? If so, where did the 2 go? Or the 10? I don't believe it's only 2 containers that are lost.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, Professor Kwesieni. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And of course, the National Security is looking for an individual with the name Alhaji, said to be the man behind the importation of the goods that they seized over the weekend. Let me bring in Manasseh Azuri and, of course, Professor John Gache to look at the economic implications of this. But Manasseh, first 2 things, perhaps you will take time to respond to me. Your article on the clearing matter and, of course, what national security is telling us. They are looking for an Alhaji behind the importation of these, what they describe as counterfeit money, gold bars, and other things.
Well, for my article, I believe that if there is to be a fight against corruption, and if that fight will succeed, it shouldn't only be targeted at members of the previous administration. And whoever this administration decides to charge after the work of Oral, the Attorney General, and everybody, you can be sure that if the NDC is to stay in office for 8 years, by the time the NDC is leaving office, some of those cases will still be pending.
Right.
So the excuse that, well, if there was enough evidence, they would have finished these cases is neither here nor there. Some of us have had issues with the delay in our legal system. And Domelevo's case, for instance, it took 3 years when civil society organizations and some individuals questioned the president's interference and then hounding him out of office. That case could have taken only 2 or 3 weeks to decide. We also know that when President Mahama was leaving office, the prosecution of Abuga Pele and Philippa Sibit, which started in 2013, it started from the 2013 JIRA investigations I did at Joy FM.
Right.
That case hadn't ended. It was the Akufo-Addo administration that took over, and then the 2 were jailed. What I'm trying to say is that if we set a practice that once you come into office, discontinue all cases, and we know some of these cases have gone to the extent that their lawyers or the persons involved filed a submission of no case, and the judges said, well, you have cases to answer, so open your defense. So if you've gotten to this stage, I thought it was only prudent for the government to allow these cases to end, and if the people are guilty, we know. If they are innocent, we know. As it is now, any person out there might even still think that all these people were guilty and that they only got out because their government or their party got into office and freed them. When in fact, some of them may actually have, or will eventually may have cleared their names and then lived lives of integrity or dignity without any suspicion hanging around their necks. So I don't think this is a very positive signal, especially when you have some of your people in government who are likely to misbehave. It is a signal that, well, once you belong to us, we protect you. And that doesn't augur well for the fight against corruption, especially amongst members of the governing party.
And then briefly on this national security discovery.
I think I agree with Professor Enin that there is more to this. When issues of this nature happen, and we don't want them to happen again, we shouldn't just single out individuals. There are many people within the chain who may have facilitated the movement of the container from the port. Those containers were supposed to have been scanned and all things had to be done. So for it to move, we get cleared and get all the way to this location meant that some people facilitated it.
Right.
And if we held them responsible and accountable, others would sit up and then not repeat that.
Right, thank you very much, Manasseh Awini Azuri, my colleague there, sharing his thoughts on this one. Let me bring in Professor John Kachi for a very brief chat on this one. So, Prof, I mean, imagine this money. We don't even know whether all of it is fake or some are genuine and others fake or counterfeit. The gold bar is also unclear. Imagine this money in the economy of the country. To what extent would it have an impact on the way the economy is managed?
Started on the note of heightening accountability, ensuring transparency to the people of Ghana. Therefore, a lot more of transparency needed around this matter that we are discussing. How did security people come to the realization that all the money are fake? What kind of examination did they do? Is it enough to come to terms with that? Those people who were arrested, are they not in link with the one who is on the run? How come that the name of the person is not known?
The only name we know is Alhaji.
The only name we know is Alhaji. The report seeks to indicate that they're working in a group. So that leaves a big gap to be exploited. Of course, monies of this nature, we do not know whether they are generated in the country. We do not know whether they are through cross-border activity. That has a serious implication to undermine the performance of our currency, and therefore can also help in fueling inflation. So we need to take these matters seriously as a country. That is what I can say for now, so that we do not undermine the strength of the currency through this kind of nefarious activity.
The national security says that they are on the lookout for 2 more containers that is on the run. It's unclear whether it's already out of the shores of the country or the content of that container has already been offloaded and then it's already in the system. Should people look out for, I mean, in this country where sometimes it's difficult to identify a counterfeit from a genuine money, especially for the layman, if you don't have access to equipment that can help you do that identification easily?
Yeah, I think the fact that the national security has announced this matter to the public is one of the ways of trying to procure the assistance of the public in identifying those people who are on the run so that they can arrest them. So it's a call for all who know something about the matter to report to the security forces for them to be apprehended, to help the cause of the investigation. But the point I'm making is that has now divided the matter into 2. Trying to look out for the 2 containers and the person who is on the run, and then trying to provide information that will resonate with the public concerning the consignment that have been seized. It seems the public is not clear whether the information provided on the consignment is cogent enough. There is no disclosure up to now that the gold bar is a genuine gold bar or not. So all those things ought to be dealt with as speedily as possible so that we'll be on the same page with the security forces. I think the new government is enjoying high level of goodwill.
Right.
And I believe that the security forces should also enjoy that goodwill if they do their work well.
My final question before I let you go, Prof. So could this be a case of money laundering? I mean, usually, the mood or the way in which this money came into the country could raise eyebrow. Could it be money laundering, if you like?
Of course, so long as the money comes from outside the country, beyond a certain level, is clearly under money laundering and nefarious activities in handling money. So that is very clear to us.
All right. Let's leave it here and take a short break here on the pause here on Joy. And we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll deal with other matters that we have for you this afternoon. Stay put.